guys, what's up? It's Amy with Amy Reads YA, and today I have my BN book haul. So, if you did not know, Barnes & Noble recently did this thing for the first time ever. It was like last Wednesday or Thursday through Labor Day. They marked down 150 of their best-selling titles to half price. This is pretty unheard of for a store of that size. So clearly, when I went to visit my parents in Tennessee this weekend, I said, "Mom, we gotta take a trip over to the Barnes & Noble." And we came away with 9 books for less than $100. By Barnes & Noble standards, that's insane, guys. Like, I also heard that Books A Million did the same kind of sale. However, I did not get a chance to check that out. Books A Million is not nearly as convenient to me as Barnes & Noble. But I checked out their selection online. A lot of the titles were crossover titles. There were a couple that I wish I'd gotten to pick up from Books A Million, but just ran out of time, and let's be honest, I don't need any more books. Before I get into showing you what I got, I did leave 2 books with my mom. My mom's TBR is significantly less hectic than mine, so I figured it was probably best to leave them with her so she could get them out of the way first. The first book is Neverworld Wake, and I am totally blanking on the author's name, but the author is the same author of Night Film, which has gotten a good amount of buzz. So if you've heard of that or read that, it's the same author. Neverworld Wake follows a group of teenagers. I think they're teenagers. They might be young adults. Might be like in their early 20s. And they are reeling in the death of one of their friends, one of their like core group. A year goes by and they meet back up at a cabin, which, guys, we don't meet at cabins. We just don't do this. It's a bad idea in books and movies and everywhere. We just don't do it. Anyway, they meet up in a cabin a year later to kind of just come to terms and heal and be together. Something happens. I believe time suspends, and somebody comes to tell them that they are kind of in limbo between living and dead, and they must make a decision. I believe one person, only one, is allowed to leave alive, and the rest will go on to die. So that sounds super interesting. It's like magical realism, sci-fi-y, and it's also categorized as a new adult. So if that makes a difference to anybody, there's that. The second book I left with my mom is one I've been dying to read for years, and that is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I have been told to emotionally prepare myself for this. I figured the time was right. I was emotionally prepared. And then my mom says, "I'm going to keep that one." Alright. As a side note, my mom is about 8 or 10 chapters into Neverworld Wake and says that she's really enjoying it, so that's awesome. Now, on to the books that I got to bring home with me. The first one, I own the Kindle edition, but for half price, why not own Three Dark Crowns in paperback by Ken Dare Blake. I own a signed copy of One Dark Throne in hardcover, so my editions are not going to match, but it's fine. This is on my September Emoji-a-thon TBR as a book that you have been saying you were going to read forever and keep putting it off. Three Dark Crowns, Ken Dare Blake. The next up is the 4th and final book of a series, of which I have only read the first book. However, I have heard that they're kind of all the same, so I had to get The Merciless 4 because it's just pretty. If you are unfamiliar with the Merciless series, this follows a girl who is essentially an army brat. She winds up in a small town in, I believe, Alabama, somewhere in the Gulf states, and is quickly befriended by one girl and then a group of 3 girls, and they're kind of pitted against each other. One seems super weird, one seems super weird but in a devout Catholic Bible belty sort of way. Obviously, some Mean Girls and Exorcist type situations ensue, and we get pretty chaotic madness. I did like the first one. If they all are the same, that's going to be a little disappointing. However, they're super quick and fun. But if you want to just have a good time, they're pretty quick reads. I feel like they're super easy for readathons if you're trying to bang out a lot of books in a short amount of time. This is definitely one to go to. So that is The Merciless Four: Last Rites by Danielle Vega. The next book I got is The Continent by Kiera Drake. I have to admit, I honestly thought that this book was about global warming. I thought it was a dystopian book about global warming, and I was like, oh, that's awesome, because it's like timely and wow. And then I read the synopsis and was like, holy shit, this is nothing about global warming. Like, I don't know. I was cracking myself up because I'm like reading it going, this is not global warming. But this premise, this world sounds fucked. So, The Continent is about a dystopian slash sci-fi-ish world. I definitely wouldn't call it dystopian, but maybe. And our main character turns 16 and she wins, or she doesn't win, she's given a trip of a lifetime to go to the continent, which I'm thinking is this guy up here. On the continent, there is a never-ending war. There are two sides battling, and apparently people who live in this nice part down here, which is called, oh no, oh, the Spire. This part down here is called the Spire. People who live in the Spire, they only know peace. And apparently it fucking bores them, which is insane. So they take these super expensive trips over to the continent and hang out in helicopters and watch people fight wars. Unfortunately for Vela, our main character, her helicopter goes down and she is put in the middle of this war on the continent. That is The Continent by Kiera Drake. Next up is one that I have not really talked about, but have said several times how excited I am that this genre is finally making moves into YA. Monday's Not Coming, a YA thriller. This book follows Monday's friend, and I have not read the synopsis for this in so long, and I'm not going to read it now, so I'm just winging it. Monday disappears, and the only person who notices is her best friend. So it's kind of Monday's best friend's story, trying to find Monday, track her down, trying to make anybody care, I believe. That's the gist of it. But I've been excited about this for a while, so I was very, very, very happy to see that this was on Barnes & Noble's Book Haul Day. The next book I received, and when I say received, I mean handed over money in exchange for a product. Didn't receive it. Give Me Your Hand by Megan Abbott. I just read my first Megan Abbott book last month, and that was You Will Know Me, which followed a 15 to 16-ish year old gymnast and the gym community, the gymnastics community, as they dealt with the mysterious death of somebody involved in that community. This, however, is Give Me Your Hand by Megan Abbott. I didn't even read the synopsis until after I had already bought this, so I'm guessing at this point Megan Abbott is an auto-buy for me. This book, the gist is that two friends grow up together, grow apart, and I believe employment opportunities bring them back together. However, with that comes the secrets of their past. That is Give Me Your Hand by Megan Abbott. Bucky, move it. Buck was on my book pile. The next one that I bought was another auto buy for me. I don't even know really what this book is about. Little Do We Know by Tamara Ireland Stone. Little do I know about this book. Anyway, I read every last word in like one sitting and cried and loved it. And from then on have said that I love Tamara Ireland Stone. I believe this also follows a friendship that fell apart and is trying to be repaired. And I believe that the thing that brings them back together is something kind of traumatic involving another character, I believe a male character. So that's a really great synopsis, and I'm sure that that has made you all want to read it. If that doesn't make you want to read it, just read it, because Tamara Ireland Stone is pretty amazing and might not be able to do any wrong. I don't know. Little do we know. That's two. Killing it. The last book that I bought is not one that I ever actually wanted to read. I read the synopsis several times and just wasn't feeling it, but I've recently seen more people talking about it, so again, when it's half price, whatever, buy it and think about it later. That is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. Again, just not really sure what it's about. I believe it's about like empires fighting each other. I know there's some revenge involved, which I like. I know there's a badass female, which I like. And that's pretty much all I had to know, so I picked it up. I'm not going to get to this anytime soon. It's not high on my list, but, you know, when you find a book that's a cover price $27 and you get it half off, why not just get it? And that's it. Alright, so that is my hashtag BN book haul. If you have read any of these books, please let me know what you thought about them. I'm very excited. I need somebody in my life to point me in the right direction, tell me you need to read this now and that later. You don't need to read this at all, etc., etc. So, that's all I got. If you guys like the weird and semi-awkward and chaotic content that I bring to this channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. All of my social media is down below. And that's all I got for y'all. I'll see you later. Bye.